Welcome to the Social Gravity Podcast. My name is Vic. I'm again joined with my good friend Cayden. What's going on, man?
We're back again. We're back.
Yeah. So in our region right now, we're back into lockdown, and there's been some controversy about this third lockdown. Do you want to give us kind of a breakdown, dude, on what exactly went down this week?
All right. So this is what happened. So a local gym in our city, actually a gym that I've recently started to go to, has decided to rebel against the city stated lockdown.
Now, this isn't some low-key rebellion. This was like a big social media post that got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, like you said, this wasn't done in secret. They were very vocal about, hey, we're going to open up on this lockdown day, no matter what. Come to the gym, work out, so forth.
Right. And
then what happened was they go first day, Monday morning, first day lockdown, they open up. 7 police officers come into the building without their permission. There's like a gate. They told them they weren't opening it.
Yeah.
Came in and gave them a fine. And I've heard different numbers about what that fine was. So I'm not going to say because I don't know for a fact, but I know it wasn't cheap.
Right. And I think there's definitely two sides to this. A lot of people are anti-lockdown right now. I understand why. A lot of people want to stay home and be safe. And again, I understand why. I do think, though, as a business owner, it's kind of your responsibility to think about your patrons and think about the business kind of like it's like a child. And I don't know if it was the most responsible thing, in my opinion, the most responsible thing to go and say, hey, public, that anyone can see, even police officers. Yeah. We're not listening. Because if you look in New York, you look at Toronto, you look at other cities, other business owners have done that, and the exact same thing happened. So what's stopping this local business from having the same fate?
Yeah, because I think there actually is more businesses locally that have been proceeding as normal, but have been more low key about it. I feel like for this business, this gym, they were just it was more of a statement about COVID in general, their feelings about it, government response, and kind of speaking for a large group of people now that are kind of like, hey, we've had enough.
And I think one of the arguments too is that a gym is a place where you get that tension out, you put in that physical activity. It's really good for your mental health. I know personally, I've really been like in this space where the mental health thing's starting to creep up on me. And I take really good care of my mental health. Like I meditate daily. I'm always reading. I'm always learning about, anxiety and stress and all this stuff. So even in my position where I would say more effort than the regular person, I'm even feeling it, right? Yeah. So I get it. I get the frustration of, why aren't you letting us just be and do the one thing that allows us to feel good?
Well, it's interesting coming from a North American perspective of, this is really the first time ever probably in our lives where we felt some sort of government control this strongly.
Right.
Now, for third world countries, they've experienced government oppression very differently than we have. And it's and there's a potential for people maybe in other countries to look at us and be like, this is very first world problems. You can't go to your $100 a month gym and it's like, the government's oppressing me, my rights, right? And I see both perspectives. And the thing that's kind of interesting, you were talking about how the gym is a big thing with mental health, right? Exercising helps your mental health. And I can see how a gym business owner could be frustrated when there's other things that are still open and it's like, well, why is that open and we aren't? Like, for example, and I'm not 100% certain because I didn't actually go into the store, but I went into the local mall to get some food at the food court and it looked like H&M was still open, right? Like the doors were open. I saw people inside. So I could understand the frustration of, how is an H&M building, even if it's a limited capacity, how is that open? Or how is the pita pit open? Right? I get it's food, but at the end of the day, is what's essential,
So I've heard this argument too with Walmart. Like, how is Walmart able to sell everything when then the mom and pop, the niche down mom and pop shops that only do like women's clothing, they're out of luck. But Walmart's still able to sell women's clothing. And that seems to be a running example or a running argument for the side of, just let everyone be open. Just let everybody be open. Put restrictions on the amount of people in the shop. Have your social distancing. Have your masks. Really, it's been pretty much determined that the reason that we keep going back into lockdown is because we have early gatherings, like gatherings when maybe we shouldn't be doing it yet. And that's been the reason, or like family, and it's not really people going and shopping. So why are the businesses getting shot in the foot? I see both sides, but it's really polarizing.
I've never understood the Walmart type argument where it's like, why is Walmart open, or why is the grocery store, this big grocery store, open? I'm like, well, that is an essential. People need to get food,
right?
So it's not. I don't feel like that's a really good argument. I feel like that's comparable.
Also, at the same time, like, what, do you not want to be able to shop at all? Like, shouldn't you be a little bit happy that Walmart's open, because then, you know, you can actually go and, like, if I want to buy, you know, let's say I just want to buy like a soccer ball, but every other sports store is closed because they're not essential. At least I have Walmart, you know, at least I'm not locked out and I just have to rely on Amazon, right? Because that would be the other option, or some other niched e-commerce store.
Yeah, I think it's starting to become one of those things where we're now a year into it, and there's so many people that COVID hasn't affected directly from the actual illness. Like, maybe you've gotten it or you know someone, but I don't think there's anyone that you or me know that has maybe passed away from it, or so forth. And obviously there has been people who have. We're not like deniers here, but when so many people, especially in our community, haven't been directly affected by it, it's really hard to accept lockdown rules, because it's like, well, what is the big problem here? COVID, right. For everyone I know, at least, COVID is such a non-issue. Like, no one is afraid of it.
Yeah, and I think too, what you're saying is, like, we don't see it, and all that we have to go off of are the government's numbers. And people are even skeptical of the government's numbers, because there's this running argument that hospitals in the States and Canada are allowed to almost like profit off of someone with COVID. Like, they just get to profit off of them in some way. I don't really understand the mechanics of it. I think they get some like sort of government grant just for housing the patient. But if you know more about that, obviously drop a comment. I would love to know exactly how that works. But that's been like something that people are having to rely on, is the premier or the prime minister, Lord forbid, the prime minister coming on TV and just reading off of a sheet of paper whatever his people tell him to say.
So what's really funny to me, and I'm sure you see it on Facebook all the time, because it's usually Facebook for the most part, I see this, where it's, you know, if I was Doug Ford or if I was Justin Trudeau, we're Canadians, people, this is who I'm referencing. Yeah. But if I was these political leaders, this is what I would do. Right. And I laugh, because I just think there is a reason why you are not in that position of power. You can't even get control of your own life, let alone dictate the province or the country. Yeah. And there's always this thing of like, well, the government just wants more control. This is a power grab. Yeah. But the thing is, what is Trudeau and Doug Ford benefiting from this? We have a friend who actually works with Ford and is in that community, and he was talking about how Ford just looks like a dead man walking. Like, he's exhausted. Like, this is not something that politicians are like, oh, I just wish we were in a pandemic so I could profit off of it. You know?
So that is something that I've definitely paid attention to, is like Doug Ford and even Trudeau, they have to get on TV and make these, you know, very stressful exclamations of, this is what it is, this is what we have to do, and they're the target, they're the spotlight, and that is so bad for that individual to go through. Like, I definitely feel for them, specifically. Like, I feel like Doug Ford specifically, I feel for, because he has to answer to the people above him, and he has to answer to the people below him, and he has to answer to the people. So he can't even make like a big federal decision. He can only make a provincial decision, and most of the time, if the federal level even allows him to do it. So it's kind of like he has to be the target, but he doesn't really get to make all the decisions. At least from my perspective, that's how it seems.
So I think this is a really good transition point, because we mentioned earlier that we want to talk about this, but as you're a leader, either a politician, a business owner, or so forth, There's times where you're going to have two decisions in front of you and you're going to have to pick one. And there's never one decision that's just an obvious, oh, this is 100% the perfect decision. A lot of times you make decisions as an entrepreneur or a leader, and there's 60% that is good that's going to come out of this, and there might be 40% bad, but the other decision might have 50, or it might be 50% good, 50% bad. It's like very, there's never one decision that's just the perfect one.
That's just
and you have to make that determination of like, what route are we going to take? And the thing is, once you make that decision, you will never know the alternative outcome because you'll never live the other decision. You make one, and then you got to kind of just let go. And as a Doug Ford, it's like, okay, should we go into lockdown? You got to kind of just make that decision, and you'll never know the alternative of if we didn't. Because everyone's like, well, if we didn't go into lockdown, this would happen. But we don't know. We'll never know.
Well, to get kind of even more meta on that, like you're really focused on the big decisions, but this even happens on the small decision scale. Like even like, okay, do I want to drink coffee today, or am I going to drink my beet juice? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was a decision I made that could change the course of my day, hell, even my life.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really think like that. I think it's almost scary to think like that. But you're right. When we jump into big decisions with all this weight on us, it's like, okay, this is actually a bigger decision. So now I'm like, it's harder for me to make it. Yeah. But on a small decision scale, it's not.
Yeah, I've just really been thinking about this concept, and just recently, if I had to make some kind of career decisions where it's, okay, should I go this way or should I go that way? And the thing is, even if one opportunity looks like the perfect, this is the best thing, you could go that route and it maybe not be that great, or it could be amazing. But again, that alternative decision that you said no to, it could have been even better. Like you'll never know. So you got to really just make the decision and let go, because the ruminating of, oh, what if I did this? Well, again, you will never know.
So there's a really good Stoic wives' tale.
Yeah.
And it goes something like this. So there's a farmer, and the farmer, he is more of a Stoic, and he runs the farm with his brother. And he has this horse, and he's had this horse his entire life. And one day the horse is really sick. So he has to make the decision to put it down. And the brother goes, oh man, like this is terrible. Like this horse is your horse, you know, you love it. And now you got to put it down. And the farmer says, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Next week, another farmer comes over, and he has a kind of staple of new horses that were just born, and he gives his most prized horse to the farmer. And the brother's like, wow, this is amazing. Like your old horse died, and it's almost like now you have this new horse, and this new horse is like, it has that spirit. Isn't that amazing, brother? And he says, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. So a couple weeks go by, and the horse starts growing really fast. And the father's son jumps on the horse and tries to go for a joyride. Doing that, he gets kicked off the horse, breaks his leg on the ground. And the brother comes again, and he says, oh man, this is really bad. Maybe that horse was a bad thing after all. Maybe this is terrible. Brother, what do you think of this? And again, the farmer goes, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. And the brother goes, why do you keep saying that? Like, I don't understand why you can't see that this is clearly bad. This horse came and it's broken your son's leg. He now can't work on the farm. This is going to hurt production. There's no good that can come of this. 2 weeks pass, and the country they live in goes to war. And they have a draft. And every man under the age of 18, from 18 to 16, has to go to war. But his son has a broken leg. And his brother comes again.
Yeah.
And he says, surely now you see that this is a great thing.
Yeah.
Surely now you can just accept that this is amazing, that he broke his leg. You know what the farmer says?
It could be good. It could be bad. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
And that's kind of the Stoic way of looking at decision making, is like, you don't know if this decision you're going to make right now is going to be bad or good, because there's things that are going to come out of it. There's other decisions that are going to come out of it, other events down the line, 10, 60, 100 events down the line where it was like, if this didn't happen a couple years ago, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. It kind of gets trippy when you think about, literally every decision you make, no matter how small, opens up a different reality path that you like go on, right? And there's like infinite amount of reality paths. Like when you decide today to get a coffee versus, or you get a beet juice versus a coffee, right? Well, when that immediately opens up like two different realities, where there's a reality where Vic went to get coffee, there's a reality where Vic went to get beet juice.
Right.
Well, you went to get beet juice. So when you got beet juice, right, everything's cool, you enjoying the juice. But what if you got the coffee? Well, if you got the coffee, maybe you would have taken a second longer because the drive-through was longer and so forth. And because of that, you got into a lane and that person hit you and you got in a car accident.
Right.
Like, you never know.
You just don't know like what could come out of it. I think what you have to do, what you really have to train yourself to do, this is really my genuine stance. It's been my stance since around high school when I adopted this. One of my friends kind of explained his perspective, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense to me, is regret just shouldn't exist. Regret doesn't need to be there. If you create regret, all you're doing is saying that I have lack. Like when you accept regret, you're living in a lack mentality because you don't think better things can happen moving forward, which is wrong.
Yeah, we've referenced it, I think, almost every podcast episode now, but it's about it's being present, literally. It's like everything is just coming back to you gotta be in that present moment. And even a good example is like even if you're in a relationship and you have a breakup and you're devastated, and there's been so many examples where that happens, and then a couple months later you meet someone new and it's like, wow, if I would have stuck in that bad relationship, I would have never met this person.
Mm-hmm.
So in the immediate, it's this heaviness and feeling of, oh, maybe regret or pain. But again, like that analogy you said with the horse, you don't know, right?
You just don't know. And all you have to do is think of the decision at hand, because that's the decision in front of you. And only if it's in front of you. I always try not to make decisions that are like even a day in advance. I want to consider the options, but I don't want to decide on it, because the reality is when I get to that point, I'm probably just going to decide whatever makes sense in that moment, not what makes sense 2 days before it, because it's not the moment.
Yeah. And even to loop it back to what we started with Sharkies, so they made this decision to go against the lockdown and they're getting fined for it, which so at face value, like, oh, this is such a negative, but they're also getting massive publicity in the city.
Yeah.
Right. So
it is quite literally the talk of the town. Yeah. And very rarely is something the genuine talk of the entire town. I really feel like this is one of those events.
I think they could really start marketing off of this, doing like, hey, we got new cardio classes. It's run away from the cops class.
We installed a bunch of gates, and what you got to do is you just got to hurdle over them, just like the cops. Just like the cops did.
I heard at first when I saw the video, there's this video of the 7 cops walking into this gym and so forth. I'm like, why do you need 7 cops to give 1 ticket, right? Well, but then I thought about it, and everyone that goes to Sharkies is just like jacked out of their mind. So they were probably like ready for the war.
Dude, because exactly
all the cops are like, it's all these tall, like super strong dudes. And I'm like, they're probably just like ready to go to war.
Yeah, you pull up with like 2 cops and you have an army of meatheads, like, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. No, they knew what they were doing. I was like, okay, wait. After I thought about it, I was like, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they kind of have to do that in that sense anyway, just for like the liability, just for like the witnessing and stuff. Cops like to travel in like big groups. It's just kind of, they're like, Urgh.
Yeah, it's not to talk to, like, this is a very local conversation, but it was just funny watching the video where like the first 2 cops are like stumbling over the barrier, and it just looks so corny. And I'm like, man, in like big cities when they like the TV show Cops, it's like so smooth. They're like, open the door, bang bang, they like break it down, it looks so cool. And then there's like Sarnia police officers, and they're like tripping over this like little kiddie barrier, and I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing else that I wanted to talk about today is, because we've talked about mental health, we've talked about why mental health is important, why the gym is important for that, but specifically in the leadership role, in the entrepreneurship role, mental health, anxiety, depression, I feel like right now is something people need to pay attention to because of these lockdowns, because of just the fact that this COVID just keeps dragging out. Some businesses are just literally like, we can't do anything about it. And I can't even imagine being in that position, man. Like, I don't even know how I would operate.
Yeah, I guess my biggest piece of advice is that you can't, as much as a lot of people like to be this solo entrepreneur, you need to reach out to, maybe you have a friend group, or just create your own community of people that you can be very open and honest with on a continual basis about what's going on.
Mhm.
And even if you are in a entrepreneur type situation, you should already be networking with other people who are in a similar category, who are
Mhm.
also trying to start businesses and all that. And to be able to, maybe it's a mastermind group, or maybe it's your friends that are in the same type of business work, to be able to like throw off ideas, be like, hey guys, yeah, it's looking like the business isn't going to do well with this next lockdown. Like, might have to shut down something. And if you like, first off, if you say that to these people and you kind of have that venting moment, they'll support you emotionally. But also, if you're networking with people who are also business minded, maybe they can help you pivot, right? And be like, hey, maybe this business isn't going to work out. Let's start something else, or let's change what we're doing, and so
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah, I do feel like if you are persistent and you just don't accept the fact that bad things will happen. Like I have this thing where I just don't accept that bad things will happen because I feel like I have at the end of the day full control over it. Just my mentality, my actions. I feel like I genuinely, and I feel like everybody else also over their own lives has genuine control over the way they handle adversity, the way they handle negative situations, negative business situations. And like you said, and you said it really well, the people around you, they can inspire you to pivot, right? Because we didn't really have to pivot that much here at Social Gravity. Like we did a lot of local work where we would go in and capture content, and we couldn't do that anymore. So we had to turn online to, okay, what services can we offer that are strictly online only? And we've been riding that wave for a bit. Now we have to pivot again because what we relied on for so long, which was Facebook advertising, is just a mess, just a disaster. I don't know what they're doing over at Facebook. It's like I just don't know. I don't get it. Like why why is there such almost like a lack of care for the consumer or the advertiser or even the user at Facebook? My predictions is that we might be looking at the downfall of Zuck.
Well, I think it's one of those things where you get so big, you don't care about the individuals. Like, leave. Like, what are you gonna do, right?
Right.
We're so powerful.
And I think too is that I just think they took on too much. You know, they scooped up Instagram, then WhatsApp, then they copy Snapchat, they copy TikTok. Like it's almost like they just took on too much. And now they can't even focus on the core of their revenue model, which is the advertisers and the users. And it's looking bad.
Well, it's interesting we're in the first stage of seeing a social media gain such a humongous user base. Like, I don't know the exact number, but like how is half the world on Facebook at this point?
Yeah,
Like,
around
right? But we've never seen it to this scale. And social media has really started to launch in like 2008. Like, I know there was MySpace, but
that.
really getting mainstream. And we're seeing the first time where, okay, so many people in the world are on these platforms. Well, is it possible that the user base is so big that Facebook will never die? Or will there be a time where something new comes up and everyone will transfer over? We haven't seen a full transfer, like MySpace was popping, but it wasn't popping like Facebook is popping right now.
Yeah. I don't even know if there's any comparables. Like what other thing have half of the world adapted that just dies? I think like radio, newspaper, it would really have to be like a new medium that is released, like something like augmented or virtual reality. But even in that sense, Facebook owns Oculus. They're focused on, they know that
Yeah.
virtual reality is the next step. So it's like maybe they are lacking here because they know what's next and they're focused so much on that.
It's super interesting as well with millennials and especially Gen Z, where I never post on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, or an organic, just normal post. I don't do that at all. But I use Facebook Messenger throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's more now of a networking thing than an actual engagement. Let me post content on it. At least for people under the age of like 35, I've found.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, millennials, Gen Zs are not posting much of their daily life on Facebook at all. I know some people who do, but for the most part, not. It seems like it's just a vehicle for advertisers and for corporations to get their message across. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, But I think that the way that the back end of the ads manager, the cost per 1,000 people to pay attention to you at this point is so inflated. And that might just be a sign of inflation.
Do you think though that it's still undervalued?
It depends. It really depends. Because if you're selling a $1 trinket, no, it's not undervalued. It's extremely overpriced. If you're selling a $5,000 high ticket item, it could be completely undervalued if you're getting your leads for, $100, $200. That's how you got to think of it, is depending.
Yeah.
It's over or undervalued.
Well, it's hard to value it because it's what do you compare it to? Because do you compare it to literal media today, like radio ads and billboard ads, or because it's like, where are you going to get that much attention other than Facebook? Like, you could say Instagram, but I'm saying like Facebook owns Instagram. Like, where are you going to get that much attention?
Yeah, it's really either you put in the money into the system, and what we saw 2 years ago even were ad costs 30 times cheaper than what we're dealing with right now, or you put in the time and you build the platform, and that's really what we're doing here, right? We put in the time, we're doing the platform and building up our YouTube and our podcast because we want to cultivate the people. We want to attract people rather than us going and finding them through ads. But we do that too.
Yeah, you can do both. You don't have to be just doing one. If anything, it'd probably be smart to do both, really.
Yeah, it really is. And there's different ways of getting traffic. I think diversifying your traffic is really smart, but it's really something that only more elite users or more elite companies can even really afford to do. Because like, you think of Gary Vee always says like, post 100 pieces of content a day. And it's like, dude, I don't even send 100 text messages a day. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And no one else really wants to do that either. That sounds daunting unless you have a huge team.
Yeah. So this is to switch topics slightly because I wanted to bring this up, but it's in the same realm. So have you heard about Snapchat's new TikTok feature?
No, I didn't at all.
Okay. So Snapchat now for the past, I would say, couple months has their own TikTok like reels that you can like watch.
Oh,
right?
okay.
But they're really incentivizing people to post. And I got the exact numbers here. So it says, this article says, to entice people to post snaps regularly, the company says it will divvy up $1 million between the most popular creators on the app per day. So basically, the payment on like views on their platform is like the highest of any platform.
Wow.
And there's very few people that are using it. So it's one of those things where if you wanted to start posting your TikTok type videos on Snapchat, you might get a potential, if it goes viral, you might get some nice money off of that.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring up Snapchat because one of my friends in California, he runs ads for an e-commerce brand, and he's been messaging me, asking me, hey dude, like, not only are Facebook costs through the roof, but results are in the toilet. Like, are you experiencing this? And I'm like, honestly, yes, I am. It almost seems like Facebook is just it seems like the entire system's broken. Apple put out this iOS 14 update, which essentially removes pixels from being tracked. So Apple's trying to protect their users, and Facebook's pissed because Facebook now can't track users across different platforms. If you use Facebook, it can track you there. If you use Instagram, it can track you there. WhatsApp, Oculus, all this stuff within their ecosystem. But right when they jump over to Snapchat, right when they jump over to Google or Robinhood or whatever, tracking's lost. Facebook doesn't like this because now it doesn't know who you are anymore. It doesn't know what type of person you are anymore. And that's so important to the fabric. And this kind of loops back. This is why it's broken. This is why Facebook needs to get on it, because, okay, Apple gave you a roadblock, hop over it. But in this, my friends hit me up. Hey man, like, things are down, but they're really expensive. What other options are you doing? I've told him about TikTok ads. And then he let me know that he's jumping into Snapchat ads. So TikTok and Snapchat ads, if you have something that is for, I would say, a younger demographic, those could be really good traffic sources for you. Another thing last night that I actually looked into and I actually created a campaign and I'm starting to get that in motion, is something called the TikTok Creator Marketplace, which essentially is a very formal marketplace where you actually have to have your business verified. So you need a business number, you need a legitimate business, and they actually have to verify you in order to get access. So I did all that, and basically, like, I could pay Addison Ray to make a TikTok with whatever I want. Like, I can pay big creators through the TikTok marketplace. Now, I assume Addison Ray is going to be, you know, probably $500,000 or something insane like that. But the options there, right? So what I did was I found 4 different creators within that you can filter by average TikTok view. So like how many views they get per TikTok.
Yeah.
And I filtered it by 500,000 to 1 million. I sent out 4 requests, and you know, I'm waiting to see. Let's see how much they want to charge me.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting if you could filter it by cost as well, of like what's their average price to sponsor your product.
I thought the price would be listed, but there's no price listed. I think it's like all negotiation based. Yeah.
Man, it's just such an interesting time of like influencers partnering up with companies, like and making it so much simpler too. I never even knew that TikTok had that, or they must have just launched it.
Yeah.
To be able to have that contact, because before it was so maybe just unprofessional, like shoot them a DM and whatever. Now it's like buying stocks on Simple. It's like just pick your influencer and have them make a TikTok for you.
Well, that's the really good thing that TikTok stepped in and did, because now it's formal, now it's trusted. And then TikTok at the same time, they're probably slicing a little cut for themselves for sure.
Yeah. So I guess basically to summarize, it's that, okay, if you're starting to put out ads, you're considering doing paid advertisement for your products, because there's so many people that are still at step 1 on this.
Yeah.
Facebook might not even be, I know it seems like the normal way to go, but hey, if your market is that 18 to 25-year-old range, and Snapchat's really incentivizing you, or TikTok is really incentivizing you, and it's going to be a lot more affordable, and you might get a lot more views. Yeah, like look into it.
100%. There's a lot of different traffic sources. I really trap myself in the mentality of like it's either Google or Facebook, but it's not. Like you have, like we said, we have Facebook, Google, we have TikTok, Snapchat. We can even do LinkedIn ads. We can do Bing ads. There's a lot of different traffic sources.
I think as a business owner and entrepreneur as well, realizing that it actually takes a really long time for people to pivot, meaning like there'll be companies and businesses that will run Facebook ads to the death of it. Like they're not going to, there's a lot of people that aren't so quick to, let's do TikTok, let's do Snapchat. They'll be like, no, we've been doing Facebook ads. We're going to keep doing that. Even if it doesn't look promising, they'll keep going.
Right.
So you as an entrepreneur, you got to see that and be like, if you can be the first at something, like, hey, Clubhouse is popping. Do they have ad platform? Like whatever, like be that guy, because if you can be super quick to get on that next thing, by the time the masses catch up to you, you've already gotten your bonus from it.
Exactly. That was like what Gary Vee kind of says, like how he was one of the first people on Twitter, and he has the handle @Gary. Like that was huge for him, because he developed that was like how he developed his core following, was like through Twitter, and then moved to YouTube. So you're right, man. If you can identify the trend and kind of see it early on, like TikTok ads, and now TikTok Creator Marketplace, what else can TikTok give us? Will TikTok eventually help businesses businesses get leads? You know, these are the questions that are always bouncing around in my head personally.
I also, if we're talking about social media, we haven't really touched on Instagram too much here. I'm just really interested to see what the heck is 5 years from now, what is Instagram going to be? I don't even think they know what it is. Like they've changed so much. I think people are so frustrated. Like they're pushing these reels. I don't know how too many people are consuming reels. I don't know the numbers. I could be wrong. But they're very much like, for example, on Instagram's layout, at the bottom, there's like your home page, like where you see your feed, the people you follow, your explore. There used to be right in the middle, like how to post content, post a photo, and then like your likes, and then your profile. They've replaced that middle post button with reels. right? So it's not even to post a reel, it's just to watch reels. So for you to actually post a piece of content, it's a smaller button now up in the corner to make a post. But they're just encouraging people to like watch the reels and almost discouraging people to make normal Instagram posts.
Yeah, it seems like a really broken UI decision. Also, I noticed that it almost seems like, because we were talking about a couple weeks ago how in the States they're now hiding likes. Well, our likes in Canada have been hidden for over a year, and now I can see people's likes again. I don't like that. I don't want to know how many. I personally don't want to know how many likes are on a.
Okay, so
post.
I just pulled up IG real quick while Vic was talking to check, and so now it's your home feed, explore, reels, shopping, and then your home. So like I just pulled up and it's just advertising hoodies to me. So like now they replaced what used to be the like, hey, this is how many likes you got, this is what your friends liked, so forth, with a shopping button. I've never purchased something directly through IG. I've clicked links to websites and purchased things, but I've never in Instagram purchased something directly in the app, which I know is possible, but I don't feel like there's very few people that I think that I know that have done that, purchase something directly in the IG
This
platform.
really goes back to my original point about Facebook, man, where it's like, it just doesn't seem like they care about the users. Like you're pushing your own interests on your users. The shopping cart, the reels, like these are a Facebook initiative of, okay, we need to do this for our own strategy, right? For our own growth. Like you're not thinking about the user end, the user experience of someone who just likes posting on Instagram and using Instagram, its core features, the explore page, the friends feed. They're trying to make things too much. They're trying to do too much. And to me, it just seems so messy. It seems so broken. They got to take a note from Bezos, man, and get customer focus. If they don't focus on their customers, people are just going to bail. And I'm bailing soon. I promise you.
Well, it's interesting when you say bail, it's kind of, well, bail to what? Because obviously, okay, we say the only thing now that seems to have some really hardcore momentum is TikTok, right? But again, are they too big to lose? You know what I'm saying?
So the real value from Facebook that I find is Messenger, like you said.
Yeah.
That to me is good. But dude, Messenger apps have been around since I was in elementary school. I remember using MSN. I remember AIM. I remember what else were there? AOL, whatever. There's so many different Messenger apps throughout time, and there's Messenger. Facebook Messenger doesn't do anything special.
Yeah. Well, okay. So perfect example. So a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about David Dobrik's disposable app.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
I did too. But we were just talking about like, okay, what's like a new thing that's coming up that's going to replace? And like, I don't know how a new platform can come up with a completely original idea and take users away from these giants, because what will happen is they'll just be like, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll just take it.
Exactly. Like that's what I mean is Facebook is just this big monster that's hungry for everybody else's ideas and everybody else's platforms, because all they care about is their own initiatives. And out of all the big tech companies, if I personally had to work for any of them, I would not work for Facebook. I would work for Amazon, I think.
Yeah, and Facebook's about to come out with a Clubhouse type feature, like doing rooms. And I heard Microsoft Excel is about to launch stories. So you ever see that meme? It's like a screenshot of Microsoft Excel, and there's like Microsoft Excel launches stories on the top.
So funny. I love that. Yeah. Cool. So there's a lot going on in the world of social, in the world of ads. And with lockdowns, dude, pretty good combo today, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't yet and you watched all the way to the end, welcome to Watching to the End Club. You are a badass. Subscribe to the channel. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Subscribe to the channel, drop a like, drop a comment. We love doing the conversation in the comments, replying to everybody that comments. Do it up. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you probably in a few days. Have a good one.